Welcome. I have an urgent update for folks in regards to a ruling by the Federal Trade Commission. Now, recently there was a breach that LabMD experienced, and rather than accepting the fines and penalties by the Federal Trade Commission, LabMD chose to sue them. Needless to say, it did not work out in LabMD's favor. Matter of fact, the ruling is now put on hold because apparently it's getting deeper than initially thought. But LabMD had shut their doors. But in the ruling, and in the process, I should say, it was required that the Federal Trade Commission actually, for the first time in history, release what they look for, what they consider a reasonable defense or a reasonable effort or a good faith attempt. This ruling had 6 factors to it. 2 of them were tied around technology. Items that may include, or did include, I should say, changing of your password, not using a common password, those kind of things. And most of the technology things, or all of them, I'm sure you all have done. However, the other 4 elements are a little bit different. One is document destruction, or destruction of information. And yes, even though we hire shred companies and so forth, or we erase hard drives or whatever it may be, the reason that was in this ruling is that goes way above and beyond just hiring a shred company to come get our paper documents. It goes deeper into risk assessments and so forth. Another one of those factors is data minimization. And that, needless to say, is not housing or storing information that you don't need for a legitimate business purpose or a legal reason. And in higher education, to be honest with you, because my company set foot on over 100 institutions. And there is so much of that, unbeknownst to the current information security people that protect that campus against this type of thing. But point being is that with data minimization, it's not just looking at information and saying, hey, we need this or not. It's truly about risk assessing that to a very, very significant and deep level. Now, the other 2 remaining factors are pretty unique. One of them is training. Now, you know as well as I do, LabMD and all these other companies, Target and everybody, has trained their employees. But if that's the case, why would this be one of the 6 main factors for the Federal Trade Commission? Reason being is that training cannot be static. It must be dynamic. It must be department and information specific. And it all must be developed through a proper risk assessment of your whole system, not just your electronic data, but your paper copies, the way information flows throughout the organization. Different departments, of course, have different functions. So therefore, if they're doing, let's just say, verification, for instance, that's not going to be the same in 2 different departments. It could be the same for 5 or 6 departments, but there's other departments where maybe a physical identity, somebody's not standing at the counter, for instance, is not an option. So therefore, how can we check the physical picture on the driver's license or what have you against the picture of the person standing at the counter? So it gets that deep. So training must reflect around that. And then the final one is vendor management. Vendor management is a significant subject. It's the one that's cost Target millions and millions, and now predicted to be 2.6 billion by some company that just determined that. However, vendor management is very unique. Yes, we have all the contracts in place that says XYZ vendor won't do this and will do this, and they're going to comply with every law. But here's what you need to understand about this FTC release. Compliance is not a defensible position. Compliance is just that. It means that you followed a code, if you will, in the law and checked the box to say, yes, we're shredding, yes, we're encrypting, yes, we're doing this, yes, we're doing that. That's compliance. Defensible position deals with information as a whole and the loss of that information. Compliance does not equal a defensible position. And therefore, when vendors get involved, it's the same kind of thing, if you will. So when we look at vendors, we really have to go deep and understand what they're doing, what their policies are, how they even got to that policy. Was it something they cut and pasted off their statewide association for information protection so they can meet a red flags requirement? And they just put their name on the document and said, hey, this is ours. Or maybe they did it with policies, who knows? But the point being is that this release has become a very, very significant thing. It's not an issue of, well, we're compliant, we're only going to do this to meet this standard. It goes above and beyond it. And as a matter of fact, The largest ruling now just came out with Health and Human Services and Columbia University with the medical organization they had attached to it. And it is the largest settlement in history, and it deals with a higher education institution. And many times, higher education believes that, if they have a medical college, for instance, that the medical college, needless to say, is its own entity. However, in this case, the Health and Human Services didn't look at it that way. Out of this, I want to say it was a $4.8 million fine. 1.6 or 1.8, I have to refer to the case, was actually must be paid by the university. The remainder amount must be paid by the university hospital. So you can see that this world of information security and privacy has changed. It is no longer about following a code of the law. It's about creating a defensible position for your institution. Please reach out to Defensible Position LLC to find out what's available to you. I think you're going to be rather impressed and rather surprised with what you see on the ease of putting all this together so you can have peace of mind and not get in situations like some of these other organizations have where now presidents, for instance, the president of the University of Maryland did, I wouldn't call it an infomercial, but a testimony, if you will, on the stand that they took after their 300,000 person breach. I mean, these are the kind of things that are happening and the reputation damages that are out there. So no longer should we just follow compliance. We really need to look at a defensible position. Visit Defensible Position LLC at their website, defensibleposition.com, and you will see some great information and tools and resources at to use at your disposal. Thank you for now.